Orlana Darkins Drewery, your connection to events, topical interests, issues, and the movers and shakers in our world, and the opportunity to learn things that make you say, oh. Today, I'm so excited to have Sharon Jackson, the visionary founder of the National Women's Collaborative. Sharon is a trailblazer dedicated to empowering women leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers worldwide. Her leadership has not only built a thriving community, but has also inspired impactful events like the We Mean Business Summit in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So today, we're diving into her incredible journey, the mission of the collaborative, and her vision for the women in leadership, for the future of women in leadership. So Sharon, welcome to the Ohh Show.
Thank you so much, Alana. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you today. I have to, give kudos to you that when we started this organization, that you were one of our original collaborators. So I thank you for that. And I'm just excited to sit here and talk with you and your audience today.
Thank you. And yes, thank you for that reminder, because I remember the very first Zoom call, there was 4 of us. And now you're close to 3,000 members, but we'll go into that, as we chit chat.
Okay.
So for our listeners and the people who are also watching, what is the National Women's Collaborative?
Well, the National Women's Collaborative is dedicated to transforming the way that women interact, how we conduct business, and really just nurture our unique talents and contributions. It's a way for women to come together and share best practices, to mentor each other, to actually just collaborate. Our motto is that so often we're taught to be competitors, and we are steadfast in our desire that women are actually champions for each other, and they collaborate with each other, because a win for you is a win for me. This is a win for a woman.
Now, who it's for is in the title, National Women's Collaborative, but what type of woman?
Well, actually, the good thing about our organization is for that aspiring entrepreneur, that professional C-suite woman, those female disruptors, those change makers. It's something for everyone. Basically, because of our membership, it's like-minded women. And I think the core of it is that when we come together, change is inevitable, that we can really change the narrative. So regardless if you're a midlife entrepreneur, a professional C-suite woman, I think the collaboration across all industries and all professional levels is what can make change happen, especially in this climate that we're in right now.
Now, there's a lot of women organizations around the world. What sets the National Women's Collaborative apart from other women's organizations?
Well, I think, I think, as I said previously, that we're really about collaborations. We're not about competition. We actually partner with the other women's organizations. But I think the core difference is that we are for all women, not just C-suite women, not just, startups, not just women in tech. And so we deal with all industries, all women's, and we meet them where they are. And versus a lot of organizations are only for C-suite, or only women in tech, or women in global marketing, or whatever. We really just deal with all women.
And that is true when you say all women, because your membership is very diverse. So that is kudos to you for that, because it's not an all Black organization, or, as you said, a specific industry organization. It is a widely diverse group of women. What was the inspiration to create this organization?
Well, the organization actually was started accidentally on purpose. And the purpose was actually driven and ordered by, you know, by God. And I actually was in an office space downtown DC that was pretty large, and we were selfishly trying to get more traffic in our office. And so we said, let's start the National Women's Collaborative, where it could be for DC-based women that were working from home. There were, you know, consultants, contractors, that they just needed a place to come work, hold events, and just hang out. It was a win for us because it gave us traffic in our office and it made us look larger than what we were. And it was a win for them because the space was free. So, you know, women didn't have to do, you know, expensive lunches anymore, or Starbucks meetings all day or whatever. We provided a brand new space where they could come and work together. So, because my background is actually in event management. And so that's why our focus was just on Washington, D.C. women.
Okay. And as we kind of said in the beginning, your start, you know, you started with really like 4 people. I remember the initial Zoom, and the organization has grown to over, I think you're over 2,800 members. You're peaking at 3,000 already. So what do you attribute to this expansion, and how do you envision the community evolving in the future?
Okay. Good question, Orlana. Well, let me tell you what I attribute the expansion to is that, like I said, we were a brick and mortar organization before, and then we quickly had to pivot because of COVID, and we became a private Facebook group. And I think our outreach was able to provide information to women that ordinarily wouldn't get it, and plus we don't charge for our information. And so, you know, we thought DC area was going to be our number 1 market. I think it's like number 5 or 6 now. The majority of our women are out of the Midwest, which, I mean, like our top 3 markets are the Midwest. And so I was trying to figure out why. And so I talked to one of the ladies, and she said, oftentimes, if it's a 4-hour event in a major city, it's a 2.5-hour drive for her to get there, then 2.5 to get back. And so literally she spent 9 hours for a program. And so I think it's the information that we offer. Our Women's Wednesday series is very candid, it's very honest, and it's very transparent. Because oftentimes where you're in other groups, you know, you have to, you know, tote the company line and, you know, read a lot of statistics. And we don't do that. You know, we talk about the successes, but we also talk about the failures. And then we talk about things that are sometimes taboo subjects. Like I think some of our more successful webinars have been on mental health checkup. It was entitled "I'm Not Okay," because, you know, we're trained. Say, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. And well, on the inside, you're not.
Exactly.
Well, you know, we did several series on "I'm Not Okay," and we talked about it's okay to go in the closet and close the door to get away from your kids for 15 minutes or whatever the case may be. So I think that is really attributed to our growth. And I would say, honestly, it's because our panelists are very, very candid. We have a session coming up. Here's a shameless plug on February the 5th, and it's dealing with women in leadership and how to deal women in leadership, how to prevent stress and burnout. And we're going to talk about things like menopause. You know, you don't really talk about women in leadership and menopause because when the hormones start going, you know, your highly educated, trained leadership skills go out the window. So we're going to talk about it. How do women still achieve success, but not go through that burnout and stress?
So for this, it is online. It's on Zoom. So how do women, since you brought it up, and I was going to ask you that about it anyway, how do women register for this session?
Well, again, it's on Eventbrite, but you can also go on our website, which is www.nationalwomenscollaborative.com. And there's a link there as well as on LinkedIn and also on our Facebook page.
And share a little bit about the session. Who will the featured speakers be? What can women expect?
Well, okay, Emily's out of California. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce her last name. But Emily really deals with, she comes from corporate America, and she is going to discuss how literally she was demoted because she was going through all of these hormonal changes. And then she didn't realize that that was affecting her performance. So what she's done, she started an organization with Natalie where they teach women how to look for the triggers. What are the triggers? Is it 9 o'clock Zoom calls or 9 o'clock meetings that cause you to stress out for the rest of the day? Or is it the 5 cups of coffee that's making your hormones out of whack? So we're going to talk about that. And then one of our advisory board members, Jessica is actually the former undersecretary for Minority Business Diversity Association under the Department of Commerce. She was appointed by President Biden. And, Jessica shares her story, how she didn't think that she was an effective leader because she was, snapping at people, loving people 1 minute snap. And then she finally went to the doctor and they said, you're premenopausal. But again, it's subjects that we don't talk about. So we have to teach our women and educate them on things to look for and really discover your triggers.
All right. So this is Women in Leadership, Understanding Stress Cycles and Preventing Burnout. It's free. It's online. It's free, right?
It's $10.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's $10. It's February 5th. It's during your lunch hour, right? So it's 12 to 1. And we're going to hear from industry experts on how to identify the triggers before it's too late. You can go to eventbrite.com, or like I normally do, I just visit the website, nationalwomenscollaborative.com. All right, this is great. So Sharon, you mentioned collaboration and being a champion is one of your focus for the organization. I know also that mentorship is also a cornerstone of National Women's Collaborative. How do you facilitate meaningful mentor-mentee relationships within the organization?
Well, the interesting thing is that, and Orlana, I think you could attest to this, is that our women, when they join, whether it's our Women's Wednesday series or our event in Puerto Rico, they actually reach out and say, hey, is there anybody in the collaborative in this field that could help me? And I have to tell you, not once has anybody said no, they didn't want to be a mentor. A personal testimony, my 21-year-old niece attended, she's graduated from college this year, and she's a finance major, and she wanted to see what the summit was all about. She met Orlana out of New York, who is a finance guru, and Orlana said to her in Puerto Rico in September, I want to be your mentor. And I have to tell you, her and Orlana do monthly check-ins. Orlana helped her rewrite her resume. And these are two women that never would have met each other had it not been for the National Women's Collaborative. I have women that are actually taking other women in our organization, their leadership courses. And so it really does work. I have Olga and Jessica that provide certifications for women. And our women are like, hey, what's Olga's number? Because we realize that, in order to get a head start and become more visible, you have to have the certification.
And I will say, too, whether it's an online event, an in-person event, which we're going to talk about shortly, the mentorships or the relationships do happen organically. Because one thing that makes me personally feel uncomfortable when people just say, I want you to be my mentor. Well, we don't even know if we're a match personality-wise, but through your networking opportunities that you provide, it does happen organically where there's a middle ground and people see like, oh, we can work together. So that I do appreciate about the National Women's Collaborative. You mentioned as an example, two women connected in Puerto Rico, and your signature event is the We Mean Business Women's Summit that you hold in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So share with the listeners or those who are watching this on YouTube uh, more information about that event and the impact the summit has on women who attend.
Well, I have to tell you, Orlana, again, accidentally on purpose. Our first event we were literally in between two hurricanes. It was a hurricane on the front end and a hurricane on the back end. And I'm thinking nobody's going to show up. And the women still showed up. I mean, I had women coming from California, the Chicago area, just all over. So what the summit is designed to do is to bring 150 to 175 Puerto Rican businesswomen and stateside businesswomen together to actually share best practices, actually to collaborate. Because oftentimes we're so divided. Okay, the Latinos are going to do this, the Black women are going to do this, the white women is. Our summit is for everyone. I mean, it is truly for everyone because just because I'm an accountant or I own a CPA firm in Puerto Rico and you own one in North Carolina, our methodologies may be different. So we share our methodologies and we share our best practices. And I mean, I have women that have actually gone out and gotten joint contracts together because they were able to join forces and strengthen their, offerings.
Now, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so, what we do, we hold panel discussions on everything from show me the money, getting, understanding your money, keeping your money, managing your money, to knowing your brand, to women in cannabis, women in leadership. This year we're really going to focus on women's health because, the disparities is just growing daily. We're also going to talk about, again, women in leadership and dealing with hormonal changes, women in tech. So we don't have an event that is strictly about statistics because we already know the statistics. We talk about how do we change the statistics. And, we have powerful speakers that attend. We were honored last year to have Medallia, who was the new president and GM of Telemundo, Gloria Feld, former president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, now would take the lead. I mean, so Secretary of Transportation, Eileen. We just have some amazing women that attend from as far away as Montana. And one year we had someone out of Montreal. I know I already have two people out of Toronto that want to come. And so it's one of our male, because, we have to have a couple men to show up, right? But one of our males said, this is the best sorority ever. Because it really is a sisterhood, just to shorten the answer is that, as we're getting ready to watch the Commanders beat the Eagles, we're on the sideline rooting for them to win. We're being, cheerleading for them. We don't want cheerleaders. We want champions. We want people to say, hey, if you need somebody in communications, call Orlana. If you need somebody in leadership development, call this person, because that's not what I do. And that's what our women do.
Now, how many years have you been doing the We Mean Business Summit in San Juan?
This is going to be our fourth year. We're so excited about it. As soon as we leave in September, I get women asking me, do you have your date for next year yet? And I'm like, no, not yet.
I'm still trying to recover from this year. So registration for the Puerto Rico Summit is not open yet, correct?
That's correct. It will be open February the 1st.
Oh, great. Okay, so that's coming up. And And then for information on that, again, it's the same location, nationalwomenscollaborative.com, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So this is the fourth year. You have close to 3,000 members. What significant challenges did you face in building and leading the NWC? And how did you overcome them? Or was it smooth sailing? Was there no challenges?
Well, no, there are challenges, and then and we're praying that this year we'll have fewer challenges. But like any other new organization or business, it's always capital. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And one of the things that we try to do, we try to raise enough money, so you can donate on our page as well. We try to raise enough money to keep costs affordable for our women, especially our new entrepreneurs. We want them to have access to all of these wonderful female leaders, but I don't want them to go broke trying to do it. We're also working this year to give scholarships to get more women certified, to get more women signed up for some of these private leadership courses. And then we're also working to try to put more women on corporate boards. But all of that takes money. And so we're doing a very aggressive fundraising campaign right now.
What advice would you give to anyone listening, specifically a woman, if they have a desire to create their own women's organization or their own nonprofit or business? Because you're a businesswoman. I know you have a background in entertainment, event strategist, now a nonprofit founder. What advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur like you?
Well, I think you have to be very intentional and clear on your mission. And then also, I think it can be a passion project, but make sure it's a passion project, either for profit or for nonprofit, either or. But I do think that the goal to it, at least for us, as I said in the beginning, we thought it was going to be something else. And lo and behold, we've evolved into something totally different. So I do think that you have to be very intentional about your goals and about your mission and the people that you want to serve. Very quickly, a woman sent me a message yesterday from India that she wants to participate on this panel that we're having on February the 5th. I said, well, that's 12 noon Eastern time. I'm not sure what time that is in India. So she said, I want to attend. I said, well, you can attend. And so we're really becoming global because I think, again, when you listen to one of your broadcasts, you're like, wow, this was different because they're honest. They're talking about their failures. They're talking about how, they became successful at the risk of losing their, marriage or whatever the case may be. So.
And just to go back to your Puerto Rico event, it's held every September, correct? One thing I do like about it is the diversity in the room in terms of race and industry, because you'll have in one room a startup, sometimes a woman that just has an idea, and someone who is maybe on her third business or a C-suite leader. So the opportunity to network and learn is really available to you. It's almost like having, how one positive thing about LinkedIn is you have access to people that you really wouldn't be able to meet on the street, and they're on a platform. That's how the We Mean Business Summit is for me and for so many women, because we're all in this one room and you really do have an opportunity the whole day to learn from each other and connect, and it's sincere and it's organic.
Right. But also, to your point, one of our mottos is that we're more than a LinkedIn connection. And that's one of the reasons that we keep our events small. Because as you all know, that when you go to these large events, you really only talk to the people at your table. Or that one or two persons that you came there to meet. But our women, they're all over the place. They're talking to each other. They're taking pictures. They're tagging each other. I mean, it truly is a sisterhood, but it's a sisterhood with a purpose. It's not just a sisterhood to say, hey, I know Orlana. It's like, how can I help Orlana? I have to tell you, I met Diane Bevins out of Idaho, and I met Diane Bevins. She's been there 3 years. I met her on LinkedIn, and Diane Bevins was instrumental in me getting my nonprofit status. Now, the likelihood of me meeting Diane Bevins, I don't know if I'm going to Idaho or something.
Right.
Although she does come to DC quite a bit.
Right, but still, like the likelihood of that happening,
Yeah,
it probably would not have.
right.
Yeah, someone from Idaho meet someone from DC in Puerto Rico.
Right. Right.
I love it. I love it. Before we wrap up, where do you see the organization in the next 5 years?
You know, I'm hoping that we would just continue to grow because every week, I mean, it varies. Sometimes we're getting 20 new members. Sometimes we're getting 3 a week, but every week since we started, we get a new member. And what I like to do, if all of my women were certified, especially my small business owners, my women business owners, that would warm my heart. You know, if we're able to put 100 women on corporate boards, we've done our job. And, we're able to get, 500 women, in leadership development courses, and, we've done our job.
And speaking of membership, how do people become a member of the National Women's Collaborative?
Well, you can go on our website. There's a link there, or you can go on Facebook on the National Women's Collaborative. It's a private group. We allow you to promote yourself, share your LinkedIn, promote your services, your businesses, because that's what it's all about. It's all about uplifting and promoting each other.
I love it. Sharon Jackson, visionary founder for the National Women's Collaborative in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for sharing about your personal story and the organization. Again, they have an upcoming event. It's virtual, so everyone is welcome. It's February 5th, and it's Women in Leadership, Understanding Stress Cycles and Preventing Burnout Before It's Too Late. February 5th, during your lunch, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. is $10, so register. And as she said, it is candid. So if you don't want the truth, not my ticket. But Sharon, thank you so much for sharing. I do plan on attending February 5th, Women's Wednesday. Again, very powerful online conversation and information to be had. And if you would like more information about the National Women's Collaborative, visit their website. It's also scrolling on the screen, nationalwomenscollaborative.com if you are watching online or listening, nationalwomenscollaborative.com. Sharon Jackson, National Women's Collaborative, thank you again. And thank you all for listening to the Ohh Show with Orlana. Until next time, keep shining.